Hey YouTube, good afternoon. Well, like I thought was going to happen, because we heard that 10.69.1.1 got released to a few employees yesterday. We just got a release about an hour ago, and the install just finished for the next version, which is build 2022.20.11 or FSDBeta 10.69.1.1. And you can see that here with the hash number and the navigation data is all installed. So I'm just going to do a typical first impressions Memorial Park drive here. That's kind of what I try to do when I'm not banging out unprotected left turns. Let's just see how it goes. It's been acting really funny at this little intersection here, so I'm starting to engage it right there just to kind of get a sense of what's changing there. All right, so we should be going to the right with an unprotected right turn, and we'll just see if it feels any different. There's the creep line, car coming. The right lane was clear, now it's not. It looks like it's waiting on all of these cars, and now it should proceed no problem. See if we get any boost differences here. I'd say it was a very low boost there. Gentle. I wouldn't say it was overdone. We did have a yellow light turning red here, but I don't think that was the factor. Yeah, we have no idea what changed in this version. All we know is it pretty much stopped the 10,000 person rollout. And it was like last Monday it stopped. And then I did see the ADAS drivers driving in the neighborhood a little bit. Not as much. So they definitely were validating in this area. But I am just going to guess it had maybe something to do with some of the phantom braking experiences people had. Or maybe there was something else that they noticed. It definitely was not as good a build on .1 as it was on .0 for me personally, just with the general number of disengagements and behaviors. But let's see what we get on this drive. While we're on this little stretch here, I did post another video this morning. I tried to get some clips of slowdowns that we've been noticing. If we see any of the slowdowns on this drive, I'll highlight them also. But just trying to gather a little bit of data to look into it a little bit more to see if we can find a root cause as to why it's happening. But in general, I think slowdowns have been something a lot of people have been seeing, both in FSD and in Navigator and Autopilot to some extent. And I'm sure it's tied into the transition to Tesla Vision and perhaps the sensitivity around VRUs, vulnerable road users such as pedestrians or bikers or things like that. All right, at this next light, I'm going to disengage and turn to the right to create a reroute. All right, back in action. so far, I have not felt any jerkiness or unsmooth accelerations. Here we have an unprotected left with that car turning left. And there's the first little bit of jerkiness in the steering wheel, but not too bad. It committed. It was a nice turn. All right, coming up here, we got a couple scenarios. We have some unmapped roundabouts. We have a couple pedestrian crosswalk areas that we had some interesting outcomes earlier, about a week ago. So it'll just depend on the scenario if we're going to see any pedestrians. But the unmapped roundabouts are always great little measuring sticks. I'm going to go ahead and let you see here that the roundabouts we're going to experience are not mapped. This used to just be a straight road with multiple stoplights. There were 3 stoplights here, and they have all been removed for these roundabouts. Let's see how we get here. This first one's got a yield, of course. You can see that in the camera now. Doesn't look like it's going to have any traffic interaction here, so it's all... Oh, we do have a truck creeping in over here, so he kind of kept on going. Did a full stop for him. Nice acceleration commit there. And an unnecessary pause there, but it definitely wasn't unsafe at all. I'm not exactly sure what that pause was for, whether it was the crosswalk there or if it saw something. A little bit more traffic here, but it should just... Okay. I thought there may have been a mapping issue. It chose a different route than we normally get on this drive, which is fine. This is going to create a lot more pedestrian interactions. We're going up through Riverside, which is this route you see here on the map. Those of you that watch these Memorial Park drives with me a lot probably know it normally goes straight through that last intersection. A little bit of a pause there, possibly for that pedestrian way over there on the sidewalk. Sometimes on this S-curve, I always get blinkers. I have not seen a blinker yet. Gosh, I would love it if they could get rid of that bug. Ah, there's a blinker. Oh well. A little unnecessary blinker just on the S-curve. Another blinker there, unnecessary. Nice marked car there. He kind of crept out a long ways, but it didn't break at all for that. Okay, so we're going through a little kind of village or town here in Jacksonville called Riverside. I guess you'd call it a neighborhood. There's a lot going on here with parking and pedestrians and lights. This time of day, especially on a holiday weekend, Labor Day here in the United States, we'll see how it goes here. We got lead cars managing our speed and a couple lights here. And if I'm not... Okay, I see a big truck up there that was backing up. I'm not sure what he's trying to do there. All right, nothing unusual here, so I'll just go ahead and go back to the full screen. Just kind of give a nice representation. Boy, there's a lot of cars on that map. It looks like it sees the green light at the moment. Looks like we got a couple cars moving around this large truck, which is why the traffic isn't moving. And this is good that the car isn't trying to get impatient or anything and go around anyone. It's waiting its turn, which is great. We have some reverse lights here, which are interesting. Obviously, humans are... Okay, we can't stop here. Okay, I don't know why it stopped there. That was not a very good spot to stop right behind a car with brake lights on. There was a pedestrian starting to enter a crosswalk area, but the car stopped on the crosswalk. Okay, I'm not sure. That brake was probably for the car in front of us, but it felt like it was reacting to a pedestrian. This is fine. There's just a lot going on here, and my head's kind of spinning around everywhere, just looking for something unexpected to happen. All right, as we get through this little section here, we're kind of finished with this little village, and it should kind of go back up to the normal speed. All right, so that was pretty good. That one little stop in the crosswalk area, with right next to that car to the right with its reverse lights on, I'm not sure about. But other than that, it was safe. Okay, we have a car turning left in front of us that we're going to have to stop. So he'll be an opportunity to see the jerk acceleration applied after he turns to the left. And it's already pre-rolling a little bit. Okay, a little bit slow on that that curve. I would say it eventually got there, but it was a little slower than I would have been. But that doesn't mean it was wrong. It's just a little slower. Flashing yellow light here. Typically these work fine, but sometimes you do see some red on the cameras. And I did see a little red there. It seems like it typically goes red when it's kind of directly above. Might have to do with the angle. Felt a little slowdown there for some reason. It slowed from 30 down to 28. Insignificant, but when we're trying to figure out what's causing the car to do some of these decelerations, sometimes those tiny little tugs are good. So I'm just going to show you the map here. We do have a green light. We'll see. Okay, it turned yellow, so we're going to have to wait, and we'll get to talk about this for a little bit. So this is a situation where we got to turn left and then immediately get into the right lane to turn right. And it usually does it fine, but the traffic can sometimes confuse it and box it out if it doesn't do it immediately. But okay, there it is. So green light, green arrow. God, I'd love it if it just went straight into the right lane. Ha ha, look at that. I almost talked it into it. That's great. Okay, so now a right on red scenario here. Just needs to come to a full stop. There it is. And then a creep. And that's what it's doing. Creep limit's way out there. Ooh, that was a nice little jerk acceleration there. So with that right on red, it committed much more than that one out of my neighborhood to start the drive. I do have a biker here in the middle lane there. Didn't create any scenarios, but could have. So I liked that acceleration on that right on red better than the other accelerations I'd felt so far. Yellow light, went straight through it, didn't even tug on the brake at all. And if you're looking on these videos and trying to hear me say I'm feeling the braking a little bit, and I know the speedometer isn't necessarily the best indicator, but if you look at the regen green line here up in the upper left-hand corner, when that goes green, when there's no reason to slow down, that's regen braking being applied, and that's a pretty good real-time indicator of just even a little tap. Like there you can see just a smidge. It went down to 28 there with a tap of regen. And I don't know why. It came off of its 30 miles an hour. A little bit of a lane shift here. Normally doesn't give it any problems. There's a green light up ahead that is obscured at the moment, and just as it comes into view, but it didn't give any pauses there at all. Pedestrian that is right on the edge, but not moving, so there was no harm there. Look at that. So that was a comfortable drive. That felt very much like the version 69.0 build that first came out. A couple little slowdown tugs in there. I don't know how to qualify those yet, so I'm not going to complain. But obviously that is something we're having a conversation about to try to learn a little bit more about what might be causing those little tugs of regen braking in there. Some people are calling it phantom braking. Some people are calling it slowdowns. Something to learn about here. All right. right, I'm going to do a little U-turn here. Double check our route. Now, we do have a scenario where there's a woman walking a stroller here. Actually, it doesn't have a baby in it. It just has a dog. So I don't mind engaging FSD here, right there, as long as it's behaving normally. For those of you that don't realize some people put dogs in their strollers, you saw it here. Okay, so this is a funny angle, and the creep line has been placed in awkward spots. It looks pretty like it's in the wrong spot there. That's way too far. Now you see it came out. Now it's clear it should proceed. So that geometry there created some interesting scenarios where the creep line kind of had to adjust. Initially, it was too far out, but it did kind of come back to where it needed to be. So watching that creep line jump around, now this is interesting. The car just cut off the FedEx truck. That is a scenario where I would have backed up a little bit and let him fit. Now I'm kind of the guy that's blocking the FedEx truck. And hopefully this goes quickly. Actually, he's trying to squeeze in, so I disengaged there so the car didn't creep any further, just to politely let him in. I'm not really gonna count that as a disengagement for the purposes of this drive, but it is a human interaction kind of a scenario that we do need to kind of watch. Those type of interactions happen all the time. Interesting. Very subtle changes, but if you're watching closely, you might notice this truck up in front of me kind of swerving to straddle the manhole covers, which is exactly what I would be doing if I was manually driving, and what I would hope one day the Tesla can learn how to do with potholes and other kind of things on the road that would make the drive smoother. So I don't know, we're kind of getting to watch the behavior from behind that I wish the car was exhibiting. Not yet though. All right, just gonna check on the route. Looks like we've got a normal route back. A little bit of a slow acceleration there. A little slower than I would have gone. So that was an unnecessary right turn blinker that was completely erroneous because we were actually kind of turning to the left. So I don't know where that right blinker came from. Felt a little bit of a deceleration there. Not exactly sure what that was for. It was right where there's cars were parked on the side of the road. It might have been being a little bit cautious there, just going next to parked cars. I'm not sure. Another little bit of a decel right there next to those two parked cars. So that's maybe what's going on. It's just giving a little bit of a pause. Now I'm showing I thought I saw a rendered car door open there, but it disappeared. It's like it thought it saw one of these car doors was open. That would be interesting if I'm not noticing little errant car door open visualizations, and some of those are causing some of the pauses. Okay, we should be turning right here. The last few weeks there's been a little bit of a pothole marked with a cone, and there is very jerky there. It did not render the cone, but it did show a little bit of a obstruction there. Okay, let's see. Interesting. We have a UPS truck very close to the stop line. Okay, he just started moving. That would have been an interesting scenario. If you look at what the vector was just thinking it was going to do, the initial was go around, and then it noticed it was moving, and then it said, let's wait. That was a whole lot of decision making that happened in those few seconds. Now this is a little bit of an obstructed turn that does require a good creep, and we do have a pedestrian here next to us also, so it's wide open, and you just kind of see how far it goes out before it commits there. Okay, a couple double flashers here, but we have a lead car here that's constraining our speed a little bit, so I don't feel any slowdowns on that first one. Or this second one for the moment, so still getting a little bit of red as those lights go right above the car. Here's a digital sign that we've talked about a few times. It, of course, doesn't read these, but you do see the barrels being rendered as cones. It looks like the sign is being rendered as a car. Couple little slowdowns. I'm still feeling them just as we go beam these cars, which is completely fine with me. I'm trying to figure out if that's what is creating them, those cars, and it's maybe being cautious in case someone opens a door. Okay, now we're entering that roundabout we've already gone through, but from a different direction. So it's an unmapped roundabout, and we basically need to go straight, and there is typically more traffic here. It has been a little less successful on this one because the mapping and the roundabout has got a lot going on here. I just saw a little bit of a blinker. I've got to yield. They've got to yield. So we're supposed to be weaving here. And the car, let's see. Oh, it took it. It did it. Okay, that's good. I don't know why it had the blinker on there. It didn't need that. It navigated that just fine. That's really good. Now this right turn is not quite mapped correctly. So the planner wants to go sooner. And if you notice, it says changing lanes. It can't do that. But the turn is right. Nope, that's not it. That's not it. You got to go a little further. Oh, and it stopped. Don't stop. I can almost feel vision and the planner fighting right there. It's like the vision system is like, the planner's not right here. What do I do? But it figured it out. It just with some cautiousness there. So, you know, a little applaud there for getting it right. The pause kind of made me worry it was just going to stop, but it really didn't. It just kind of needed a second to figure it out. Okay, we've got a barricade here marking another pothole. It doesn't seem to map barricades as cones, so a barricade is a little different than a barrel. Okay, and as everyone loves to have, I try to throw one unprotected left in almost every drive I can, and this drive has an unprotected left, but wow, look at this traffic scenario. So we have traffic stopped on the other side of the mapped median. So I don't know that I've done it in this scenario yet. Okay, the traffic is just starting to approach from the left. It needs to stop. Okay, there, it did. It's got to look through these light poles a little bit, but I can see the cars coming. I don't know when. Okay, nobody's going in that median. Okay, there is room if it goes to the median. It needs to. Okay, it can't stop here. It can't stop here. Okay, I had to take over there, and and then I'll go ahead and proceed. So it did that leaving its butt out thing again. Okay, so I wrote a little tweet a few days ago about, you know, is it intentionally leaving its rear end in the lane, or is it, if no one's coming, or is it just confused as to where it can stop? That was a good example that I let it stay there for a second, and then as that car was approaching, I had to disengage because it left itself in the lane of oncoming traffic while it needed to get further into the median, which there was plenty of room, and proceed. So a little bit of a disappointment there. I guess we're learning about how this new median, what I'm going to call it, the median network, the new tool that's mapping the drivable space in the median. It does have to do a little bit of adjustment there. And I know when I'm rendering this video, I'm going to look really, really closely at whether or not the blue shadowed area was in the correct spot and the car, you know, didn't get in it, or was the blue area not in the correct spot and then the car got in the blue area, but that wasn't accurate enough. And that's what I think is happening, is that blue area is moving around a little bit and the car moves in there, but if that blue area isn't right, then the car just isn't in the right position for safety there. But that's always good. You know, there's no doubt about it that it knows how to do the maneuver now as far as functionally. You know, whether or not it can see far enough, whether or not the median network is accurate enough, or whether or not that creep line tool is now, you know, too far out or accurate enough. But at least we have the function of how to do this complex turn that can be tweaked. And even if it takes more cameras, but that's fine. But at least the logic of it is being worked on, and we'll keep working it. But so far, if I'm going to sit here and think about how this drive is felt, it does feel like they tweaked the settings back closer to the 69.0 settings for the jerkiness or the acceleration. I don't know. I hate to even use this, but it feels smoother. But that is in comparison to the build I was just driving this morning. I don't feel like it's jerking around as much. Now, why it does the jerking around is a whole nother discussion, but it does feel like they've kind of smoothed everything out here a little bit. Well, all it has left is one unprotected left turn at a light, forward-facing unprotected left, and these have really been pretty good. I haven't had much of an issue with these. Obviously, they can get pretty complicated depending on if there's like cars that are blocking your view and things, but I feel much more comfortable with unprotected forward-facings than I do, you know, the typical left turn. And the traffic scenarios, and it looks like we might have a lead car this time too, just to give us a little bit of variability. There's the decel. I wish the blinkers would come on a little sooner, right when the decel started, but they've been working on blinkers for a long, long time. So in this scenario, that car is going to go. Now we need to assess whether we can go, and there's a small window, and it's going to roll it. And that window was fine, and especially with that acceleration, that was really good. Another good one. And we are there. So, FSDBeta version 10.69.1.1. I feel pretty good about this so far. First drive, end count of 1. It's a little early to you know, jump up and down, but it feels better than the drive I did this morning on the previous version. I don't know why they did this dot release. You know, it's pretty obvious they couldn't have called it .2 with Elon having tweeted that 100,000 people are going to get .2. So I think the reason it's labeled .1 is for that reason specifically. And yeah, I really hope everybody gets it soon. This felt really smooth. I don't think I've seen anything that would hold up this release. All right, everybody. Love to hear your comments. Let me know below. Have a great day.